In this video, I'll be ranking the genetics of all qualified competitors for the 2025 Open Olympia. Genetics basically refers to things like muscle insertions and shape, structure, proportions, and even how shredded or how much muscle someone can get. I'll factor in all of these categories into my usual tier list format. For the tiers, S+ tiers for athletes with near-perfect genetics, amazing structure, flowing lines, and muscle insertions that leave almost nothing to critique. S tier is for amazing genetics overall, but with, one visible flaw that isn't too damaging, whether it's a slightly wider waist, a smaller muscle group, or some other imbalance. A tier is for competitors who have generally good genetics but a few noticeable weaknesses, often one major flaw alongside some smaller ones. B tier is for athletes who have multiple significant genetic limitations, whether in shape, proportion, or structure, but still manage to present well with the right training and condition. Finally, C tier is for those who were dealt a tougher genetic hand, clear disadvantages in one or more categories, but who have reached the Olympia stage, with great work ethic, discipline, and maximizing what they do have. First up, we've got William Bonac. Now, his genetics are a mix of really strong positives and some clear limitations. One thing that really stands out to me is his round, bubbly muscle bellies, which, even late in his career, the delts, the arms, and the quads do still pop with that very full look. His insertions are very solid as well, with freaky bicep peaks and well-swept quads. But his abs have never been, the cleanest inserted, and structurally, that is probably where his biggest limitation is. He's built on a small, kind of blocky torso, with a wider waist and not the best clavicle width, which makes poses like the front lat spread or any midsection focused one very tough for him. Add in weaker forearms and a blockier midsection as he's gotten older, and those flaws are definitely more noticeable today. Still, Bonac has always managed to pack on a lot of serious mass with great detail and freaky standout body parts. For that reason, I'm going to place him in A tier. He's got strong genetics overall, which definitely shined more when he was younger, but a structure that does hold him back from pushing any higher. Next on the list is Martin Fitzwater. Genetically, he's very well put together. His proportions are excellent, and he's got that kind of thin skin texture that makes him look extra detailed and grainy on stage. Shots like the most muscular really do pop because of it, and his legs show some of the best detail and balance in the division, with very strong hamstrings and quad insertions, and very solid calves as well to match. Structurally, he's also in a pretty good place, small waist, strong X frame, and great balance across the entire body. That said, the main flaw comes in the arms. His triceps are shorter inserted and don't carry that full sweep, and his biceps do not have much peak or deep separation, which makes them look a bit less impressive next to his other body parts. You could also nitpick the ab split he has, but it doesn't really hurt him on stage or in really any poses, I would say, as plenty of Olympia champions have had the same. Overall, with so much going for him and really only minor issues, I'm going to put Martin in S tier because, his genetics give him almost everything he needs to push to the very top. Now let's move to Akim Williams. He's got some of the freakiest shape you will see on stage, with the ability to carry massive size on a very wide frame, with a small waist and pretty long filled out limbs. His arms, especially the biceps, are absolutely ridiculous. The peak and deep fiber detail make them some of the best in the game, and his side leg is another real standout, and when he nails his condition, it's an area that's very hard to beat. But outside of those highlights, I would say his genetics show some clear issues. His back has always been a problem, with higher insertions that kept the lower portion shallow, and over time it's worsened with atrophy. His abs are also not very pleasing either, sometimes looking almost non-existent, especially in the lower half, and his triceps do not match that same freaky quality of the biceps. So while he does bring some massive positives, the midsection and mainly the back weigh him down enough to drop multiple placings. That's why I'm going to put him in B tier. He has a great structure and some amazing biceps, but big weaknesses that also keep him from climbing any higher. Next up is Brandon Curry. His genetics really do shine in the upper body, where he has almost no real weaknesses. He's got those wide clavicles, full biceps and triceps, great chest insertion, symmetrical and, pretty good abs as well, and some of the best lat and trap insertions in the division. Add in capped shoulders and you get that rare 3D look that makes him stand out against, flatter, less gifted competitors. But I would definitely say the lower body tells a completely different story. His quads do insert lower, which hurts the sweep, his hamstrings have never been amazing, and his glutes are shallow compared to the rest of his frame. Some of that might be training related, but genetics clearly does limit how much size and shape he can add there. Even with that flaw, though, it has not stopped him from placing near the top. It's really only prevented him, though, from winning another Olympia title. With a nearly flawless upper body that's among the best we've ever seen, I do think he belongs in S tier because his strengths more than compensate for his lower body shortcomings. That said, if you guys are enjoying the video so far, a like and sub would really be awesome as it helps out the channel tremendously. Moving on, we have Derek Lunsford. Like Brandon, his upper body genetics are some of the best in the division, but size-wise, I would definitely say he also doesn't really have a body part that's truly lagging, though his arms are definitely on the flatter side, and his chest can lack those deep striations. When it comes to positives, though, they are massive. His back is the best in the division thanks to his insertions, which is only enhanced by his insane width, pop, and detail, and his delts are definitely underrated in shape with amazing separation. His lats do flare out wide and round, and then tie into a very small waist that creates a very impressive V-taper. Even his abs are insane with a 10-pack, with great insertions obviously, that stand out despite not always being posed perfectly. That said, his main weakness would be in the legs. The quads do insert lower and can look flat from the front, making the upper body appear even bigger by comparison. Structurally, his frame is also a bit compact as well, which is not ideal for a pose like the front lat spread, for example. But overall, these flaws are relatively minor compared to everything else he brings. That's why I'm placing Derek in S tier. He's definitely not flawless, but his genetics are clearly good enough to keep him at the very top. Next is Urise Kalisinski. Structurally, he's got a lot going for him. Taller frame, long limbs, and naturally flowing proportion. But the clavicles are definitely on the narrow side, and that really shows in certain front poses. His back insertions are also average, still higher up, and while the atrophy that he is showing is not genetic, it does make the weakness stand out even more. On the positive side, though, his legs are absolutely fantastic, with full, perfectly inserted quads that are cut and very detailed. His abs are also another standout, with great symmetry and shape that really do add to his front poses, and he consistently shows great conditioning year-round. Another weakness, though, would clearly be the arms. They don't separate very well, the biceps lack a lot of peak, and the tricep insertions do not give that round, full look. So overall, Urise does have some excellent strengths, but also some big flaws that cap his ceiling. That's why I think I would put him in A tier. He is very genetically gifted in some areas, but also definitely held back by others. Now let's take a look at Andrew Jacked. Genetically, he's about as complete as it gets. His structure is wide with long limbs, full round muscle bellies, and insertions that flow nearly perfectly for bodybuilding standards. Some point out that his arms insert a bit higher, but I actually think that does work in his favor. It gives him great peak in the biceps and a lot of that freak factor as well. His abs are also very bubbly, round, and symmetrical, and that same fullness carries across the entire upper body. When it comes to flaws, they are definitely pretty limited. His calves and forearms insert higher, which can make the limbs look a bit stringy to some, and his quads do not have the best outer quad sweep because of his longer legs, but those issues do not really hold him back on stage. The bigger concern to me would be that we've never really seen him get truly dug out lean from behind because the hamstrings and glutes have yet to reach that crazy, very deep detail. Even so, the combination of elite structure, near-perfect insertion, and incredible aesthetics is very undeniable. That's why I would have Andrew Jacked in S+ tier, one of the most genetically gifted in the sport today, and maybe of all time, and nearly unmatched in categories like structure, shape, and proportion. Next up is Samson Dauda. He shares a lot of similarities with Andrew in terms of structure, the wide clavicles, long flowing limbs, and nearly perfect proportion. On top of that, he does have the rare ability to carry massive size and still look very balanced. often sitting well over 300 pounds in the offseason. His quads are full, perfectly inserted, and really nice to look at, and his chest is easily one of the best in the division. That said, the true weak points are smaller, but definitely noticeable. For example, his arms do not have the freaky insertions or deep separation yet. His abs are definitely not the most genetically gifted, with a visible split down the middle, and the biggest issue would be that condition. Despite looking detailed in some areas, his hamstrings and glutes never reach that shredded, Olympia-level winning type of caliber of condition we expect. And that might come down to genetics when it comes to fat distribution or even skin texture. But even with that limitation, his structure, size, and strengths do keep him at the very top. That's why I'm putting Samson Dauda in S tier. He is nearly flawless, but the conditioning question mark and subtle but noticeable muscle insertion flaws are what hold him back from S+, in my own opinion. Coming up, we have Chang Long Shen. He's got some really strong points, starting with great quad insertions, underrated calves and forearms, and a thick, well-inserted chest. His delts are also round, his shape overall I would say is decent, and his conditioning usually keeps him rather competitive. But once you look closer, the flaws become clearer. His back is not very well developed, and while the insertions are not really terrible, the higher lats leave his lower back looking a bit empty. The bigger problem is the arms though. The short insertions and lack of development make them look very underwhelming, especially next to his impressive legs. Structurally, he is also not the widest or most proportional, giving him a compact look that doesn't really carry the same dominance as some top competitors. Altogether, the arms and the structure are definitely glaring flaws that I can't ignore, and when you add in the back into the mix, it keeps him from going into the higher tiers. That's why I have Chang Long in B tier. He is very solid but capped out by clear genetic limitation. Up next is Vitali Gonikov. Genetically, he checks off nearly every box. His structure is wide with a tight waist, his limbs are long and very flowing, and his insertions are also strong across the board. His legs might be the best in the entire division, with quads that are deeply separated, feathered, and perfectly shaped. From the front, his taper is definitely about as good as it gets, giving him that dramatic X-frame that screams of top-tier genetics. If there was a weakness, it would be that his lats insert a little bit higher up, which can leave his lower back looking a bit missing, but if he added a little bit more thickness, he would hide it a lot better. Maybe his abs also are not perfectly symmetrical, and he is on the shorter side, but those are nitpicks when you look at the entire physique. He has already shown that he can get extremely dry and thin-skinned with amazing condition, and as he keeps adding density to his back and side poses, his potential is limitless. That's why I'm putting Vitali firmly in S+ tier. He is, in my opinion, one of the most genetically gifted bodybuilders on the planet right now. Now we've got Rubiel Mosquera. If we judged only his legs, he would definitely be S+ tier without any question. His quads, hamstrings, and calves are absolutely insane. Huge, detailed, and perfectly inserted. On top of that, he has the ability to pack on muscle at a level that's probably unmatched in today's lineup. But when you look at his overall shape and structure, the flaws really do show. His waist is wide, his arms are definitely on the shorter side, and proportionally they can look undersized compared to the rest of his body. Structurally, his upper body also does not flow very well. He isn't especially wide relative to his waist, and that does take away from his balance and aesthetics. Insertions up top are decent, but they don't really pop the same way his lower body does. He's got all the freak factor, height, and a lot of size as well, and he can get conditioned enough to be dangerous, but genetically he is capped by those proportions. That's why I've placed Rubiel in A tier. Freaky and unique, yes, but limited by structure and balance. Next is Jordan Hutchinson. He's got a well-rounded physique, but it's built more on work ethic than standout genetics in my own opinion. His arms are the most obvious weakness, I would say, at first. The shape and insertions are pretty average, and there is not much intra-arm separation. On the flip side, his quads and lower body are excellent, and he consistently brings very sharp condition across most areas. Structurally, though, he is not the widest in the clavicles, and his waist is not especially small, and his abs do have a split that doesn't really do him favors when he crunches down his midsection. The biggest issue, though, would be the back. Developmentally, it is still behind, and genetically, his lats do not insert super deep, which leaves him looking kind of underwhelming from behind. He's already shown that he can improve year to year, so with more time, he could close those gaps. But right now, nothing really jumps out as amazing genetics compared to top-tier Olympia contenders. That's why I have him in B tier. He is solid across the board, but without those truly elite genetic advantages. Now let's take a look at Rafael Brandao. He's known for having one of the best overall shapes in the entire division, with amazing proportions and flow that are top tier. Structurally, he is also very balanced, and no body part really stands out as glaringly weak, but at the same time, there also isn't one muscle group that screams best in the world either. His abs are a 4-pack, not the most genetically pleasing setup, but they are symmetrical and very aesthetic. His arms also have about average insertions, I would say, though they do have good separation that saves them, and his chest, delts, and legs all carry above average shape. The issues, though, come with his ability to really push the condition and with how long it's taken him to add size. His back is decent in terms of insertions, but not really eye-catching, and overall his physique does not have that freak factor to push him into S+. Still, I would definitely say his flow and balance keep him firmly at the top. That's why I would place Rafael in S tier. Outstanding shape and proportion, but with a few minor limitations that do hold him back from being in that absolute elite genetic class. Next up is Hassan Mostafa. His calling card is definitely condition. He consistently comes in razor sharp with that thin-skinned look that we often see from Iranian competitors. His insertions in areas like the abs, quads, chest, and shoulders are very solid, which gives him a clean, polished look. But the issues would definitely lie in the structure. His arms are stubby with shorter tricep and bicep insertions, and his clavicles are on the narrow side. That combination hurts him in key poses like the front double, where he does not really look as imposing as some of his rivals. The same problem shows up in the back poses, where even with amazing detail, the lack of width really stands out. He could use more thickness in the back as well, but it's really the structure that holds him back the most. That's why I've placed Hassan in B tier. He's very polished, balanced, and always in condition, but structurally he's at a huge disadvantage against the best in the world. Now we've got Behrooz Tabani. Like many Iranian competitors, he's known for incredible condition, but interestingly, his quads do not really match the rest of his body in that regard. From the front, there's very little separation, and the quad insertions themselves are not really great, I would say. Not much sweep, and they also almost run straight down. He has added a lot of size to balance them out, but the structure overall is not ideal there. Outside of that, though, his upper body is definitely fantastic. His delts and chest insertions are among the best, his arms are full and balanced enough, and he has huge width across the shoulders. His back, especially in the traps, is another standout area, and from behind, his glutes and hamstrings are actually very complete. Even his abs, while just a 4-pack, have deep separation, and I would definitely say do look, nice enough with his midsection. At the end of the day, the quads are the only big flaw, but it's one that stands out in a lot of poses. That's why I would place Behrooz in A tier. He has a great physique overall, but the front shots expose his biggest weakness. Moving on, we have Hadi Choopan, one of the front runners for the 2025 Mr. Olympia. His conditioning is obviously world class, we all know that, especially from the front with incredible detail in the chest, abs, and obliques as well. Genetically, his midsection might be one of the best of all time, a perfectly lined 6-pack, deep serratus, and even the ability to hit a very clean vacuum with very impressive shape as well. His quads are full and well developed as well, though a little shorter in length on the femur and with, some asymmetry between the two. To me, though, the biggest flaw shows up in his arms. His biceps and triceps are stubby, with kind of shorter insertions which stops them from having that full, round, and imposing look. His calves and forearms are also not really impressive either, though they don't hurt him as much as they hurt someone like Andrew Jacked. Another weakness I would definitely say is from behind. For someone who is so sharp frontally, his back, glutes, and hams never really show that deep, feathered, and cut detail. Overall, Hadi has one of the best fronts in the entire game, but structurally and genetically, he is definitely not flawless. That's why I think I would place him in A tier. He's got that elite conditioning and one of the best midsections of all time, but also not one of the most genetically complete physiques either. Now let's move on to Brett Wilkin. His shape is pleasing and he's got good proportion with solid insertions overall. His conditioning recently is dense and detailed, and his abs are a strong point insertion-wise. But when I break down his genetics, there are definitely some clear issues. His clavicles are definitely narrow, which hurts him structurally in front shots and shows up from behind as well. His lats insert higher up, leaving his lower back kind of shallow, and the rear double biceps pose makes that weakness very obvious. His quads do not have that dramatic sweep or high insertion you want, and his biceps lack that sharp peak that separates the best arms from kind of mediocre ones. On top of that, his biggest limitation has been size. He gets very big in the offseason, but every time he cuts down, he loses a lot of that fullness, and over the years, he has not been able to add and hold real stage mass. To me, that looks like a mix of genetics and structure holding him back, and maybe some work ethic, although he does train really hard. That's why I'm putting him in B tier. Great shape and detail, but structurally narrow, and genetically limited when it comes to building enough size to compete at the very top. Next up is a true fan favorite, Nick Walker. Genetically, his arms are amazing, maybe the best in the division with full round triceps, amazing peaked biceps, and very strong forearms as well. His hamstrings are also another standout feature. They are long and fully developed and probably the best on the Olympia stage. His delts are solid, his chest is decent, though not perfectly inserted and kind of on the small side, and his lats tie in deep enough to make his front poses look complete enough. That said, the problem comes down to structure. He's got a wide, blocky waist combined with clavicles that aren't really the widest. They're not narrow, but they're also not extremely wide, and this combination throws off the proportions in nearly every front pose. His abs are also genetically pretty good, but the split has worsened over time, making the midsection less appealing. On top of that, and probably one of the biggest issues, would be that his quads are stubby with low insertion, so they don't really balance his massive upper body well at all. If he had longer legs and a tighter shape, his overall physique would be totally different. As it stands, though, I would say that Nick's success comes more from work ethic. He's got that insane mass, freak factor, and condition, but structurally and genetically he is limited. That's why I have him in B tier, an example of outworking genetics, yes, but definitely not one of the most gifted blueprints from the start. Now we've got Regan Grimes. Structurally, he is definitely about as good as it gets. Wide clavicles, a tight waist, and flowing proportion that screams top-level bodybuilding. His hamstrings are also some of the cleanest and best inserted in the division, and his overall shape is elite. But when I look at, the genetics beyond structure, there are some issues. His arms are definitely not what you would call freaky, with biceps that lack dramatic peak, and only, moderate separation, although it has gotten better. His lats do insert on the higher side, I would say, as well, so shots like the front lat spread do not have the same impact as if they were lower inserted. That all said, I would definitely say his biggest flaw would be his ability to add on mass. Despite taking multiple year-long off seasons, he hasn't really put on the level of mass that we all expected from him, nor the level that is needed to, compete with the best of the best. That leaves his chest, arms, and even legs from the front when he is on the more conditioned side, sometimes looking a bit small compared to his, massive structure. Still, the foundation he has is amazing, and nothing about his genetics is a deal breaker in my opinion. That's why I'm putting Regan in S tier. Nearly elite structure and proportion, but really missing that size and freak factor to be S+. Second to last is Tonio Burton. His overall structure is solid with a good X-frame, small waist, and a decently wide upper body, though not the widest. His quads are probably his most standout feature, super high insertions that almost reach the hip, with amazing separation and fullness and roundness that is even rare at the Olympia level. His arms, while not the biggest, do have nice intra-arm separation, and the biceps are peaked nicely. The midsection is tight and well controlled, but on the longer side, I would say, and the abs have a noticeable split down the middle. The biggest flaw genetically, though, I would say, would be in the chest. The split down the center makes it look empty and kind of awkward compared to fuller-chested competitors. From behind, his lats are well inserted, a bit high I would say, but kind of underrated as well. And then I would say his hamstrings are also weaker, kind of in insertion and size. Overall, Tonio has a lot of positives and hides his weak points well, but the chest split and some midsection proportion keeps him out of the very top in my own opinion. That's why I'm placing him in A tier. Very good genetics overall with a couple prominent limitations. Finally, we've got Dorian Haywood. Genetically, he does have some clear limitations to say the least. His arms are not the strongest, with average insertions, kind of weaker peaks. They're not really that bad, but I would definitely say there's not much intra-arm separation. His quads, while they can look decent at some angles, do not really have standout insertions either. Structurally, he's not the widest up top, and his waist is definitely a little bit thicker, I would say, not by much, but it does throw off his proportion, and that's definitely something I would say that's gotten worse with age. Earlier in his career, his calves were actually really good, but now they've noticeably faded and maybe even disappeared. His abs are also nothing special in terms of shape or insertion. Now the positives are that his hamstrings and back, which have strong insertions, look pretty complete. But overall, he's not especially wide, not especially balanced, and does carry a lot of genetic limitations for Olympia-level success. I do respect how hard he's pushed himself at this stage in his career, but with so many structural flaws and insertion issues as well, I have to put him in C tier. He's a hardworking competitor, but genetically limited. Well guys, that about does it for this video. Please let me know in the comments down below your thoughts and opinions, and if you agree or disagree with my rankings. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.